Beginning of trading binary options. Today we are going to learn about the history of binary options trading. The very first account of options was mentioned in Aristotle's book named Politics, published in 332 BC. That's how far back human has used the concept of buying the rights to an asset without necessarily buying the asset itself. In finance, this is an option we call as a contingent claim. Aristotle mentioned a man named Thales of Miletus who was a great astronomer, philosopher, and mathematician. Yes, Thales was one of 7 sages of ancient Greece. By observing the stars and weather patterns, Thales predicted a huge olive harvest in the year that followed. Understanding that olive presses would be in high demand following such a huge harvest, Thales could turn a huge profit if he owned all of the olive presses in the region. However, he didn't have that kind of money. Instead, Thales thought of a brilliant idea. He used a small amount of money as deposit to secure the use of all of the olive presses in the region. This is called a call option, with olive presses as the underlying asset. As Thales expected, harvest was plentiful and he sold the rights to using all of these olive presses to people who needed them, turning a large fortune. By controlling the rights to using the olive presses through an option, even though he didn't name an option then, Thales had the right to either use these olive presses himself when harvest time came, exercising the options, or to sell that right to people who would pay more for those rights, selling the options for a profit. The owners of the olive presses, obviously not knowing how the harvest was going to turn out, secured profits through the sale of the options to Thales no matter how the harvest turned out. This contingency claim procedure defined how options have worked since that day, began the long history of options trading. In fact, the olive press owners could be deemed to be the first to have used a covered call options trading strategy. Yes, they own the underlying asset, olive presses in this case, and sold rights to using them, keeping a premium on the sale no matter if the presses were eventually used or not. The tulip mania of 1636 in Europe is a classic economics and finance case study where herding behavior created a surge in demand that it caused the price of a single commodity, tulips in this case, to soar to ridiculous prices. This surge in prices began the first mass trading of options in recorded history. Tulips imported into Europe from Turkey and Holland quickly became a symbol of affluence and beauty in the 17th century. Tulips then were like designer cloths and watches, which people from all levels of society wanted, and the hype caused tulip prices to skyrocket in demand. Due to the overwhelming demand for tulips, demand for tulip bulbs by growers and dealers also increased exponentially, pushing up the price at the producer level. As the price of tulip bulbs increased almost on a daily basis, Dutch dealers, which were the biggest producers of tulip bulbs then, started tulip bulb options trading so that the producers could own the rights to owning tulip bulbs in advance and secure a definite buying price. Yes, this was call options on tulip bulbs. What started as a means of hedging producer risk became a speculative frenzy as the price of tulip bulbs skyrocketed between the end of 1636 and February of 1637. Mass speculative interest in tulip bulbs options led to people from all levels of society buying those options with everything they had, including selling or mortgaging their homes. All price bubbles burst, and on February of 1637, the price of tulip bulbs had gotten so high that it can no longer find sensible buyers to sell to. The buying frenzy immediately turned into a selling frenzy. Price of tulip bulbs collapsed quicker than it rose, and almost all options speculators were wiped out as their options fell out of the money and became worthless. The Dutch economy collapsed, and people lost their money and their homes. Since a lot of options speculators were wiped out during the tulip mania, options trading also gained a notorious reputation for being a dangerous speculative investment. This is also why you should only trade options in a speculative position with money that you can afford to lose. Maximizing leverage by dumping all of your money into a single unhedged call or putting options position for the purpose of directional speculation is repeating the history of the tulip mania. Predating the internet, exchange-traded binary options had been available for many years. The word binary denotes the all-or-nothing, win-or-lose nature of every binary options contract, which has 2 possible outcomes: either win, in the money, or lose, out of the money. Like all options contracts, a higher call or lower put option is purchased, and if the option contract expires in the money, or ITM, then the payout on the option occurs from the seller of the binary options contract to the buyer for a set, all or nothing return.